hot damn hope. Here we go again. Here it a hot damn hope. Here we go again. Say don't front, you know me. I'm the one that grab the microphone and never leave it lonely. Say don't front, you know me. I'm the one that grab the microphone all by my own lead. Say don't front, you know me. I'm the one that grab the microphone.
Welcome to another fly episode of Easy Star's Variety Society. I'm Easy Star Delano, and this is my first episode back in rough Buffalo, New York, via Raleigh, Flagstaff, Albuquerque, and I'm back. So I just want to say thanks for welcoming me back or whatever. It feels good to be home. How about that, right? And the first thing I want to touch on, the first topic I want to touch on that's been occurring to me to touch on is the topic of mind versus heart, right? And at first glance, I think it's pretty obvious, but we're gonna go into a little detail to make it clear. You know, the difference between the two and functionality within the two. So, and I think this is important because, more and more people are getting enlightened, you know, whatever word you want, in the know, you know, people are just getting, as a society, our awareness is increasing, and the potential for that increase is increasing. So, some direction is good. So that's why I want to touch on the subject of mind compared with, I'm saying versus, but they're not a battle, but mind versus heart, you know what I mean? And the first thing I want to do is let's get into it. The heart. The heart. First thing I want to mention about the heart is that when the male sperm goes into the female's egg, right? And then all the cells start 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, bang, 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 you know what I mean? They starting to spread. It's just a bunch of cells until the first organ is made. And guess what the first organ is? Now this is what I think a lot of people would think that's the brain, but it's not. It's the heart, right? And to make matters more clear, the second would actually be the tongue, right? So, heart is kind of like the source of, it's the first organized thing. So it's like compared to the brain, it's a source, meaning that anything that comes after the heart already held that information in it. So whatever information is in your mind, the heart already held that information. So, logically that says that the heart is a higher priority, is closer to source, right? If it's closer to source, it's closer to having an eternal nature, which, as we're talking about enlightenment, eternal is always takes a higher priority than the temporal, right? The time, right now, tick tock, you know what I mean? The past, present, and future is way bigger, you know what I mean? And it has a nature that precedes time. It's more substantial than time. It's more purposeful than time, and it's more, like I already said, it natural. It's more, and nature is more in tune with the eternal than it is with the temporal. Although temporal fits into nature because the eternal includes now, right? Just check out a little math for you real quick. The mind is more for a temporal function. Now, how can I put this? All right. Your heart is closer to the source. Your purpose is kind of determined on what information is coming from the source through your heart, then to your mind, right? Eternal to the now. We should be seeking, I'll get to that later. I just want to point out the mind is more temporal. The mind is more dealing with, okay, there goes I'm in the kitchen. There goes my sink right now. I'll turn that on and the water will be running now. You know what I mean? This is a very brutal analogy, but that's basically what it is, right? And heart thinking would be more like, how is this all lining up? All this temporary stuff, how is it lining up with the eternal thinking side of myself, the side that came first in the heart, right? The mind is best serving when it works in conjunction with your heart. Heart thinking, closer to eternal, I just want to keep putting things together. The heart thinking, which is more eternal, holds more dimension, right? Now only includes now. Eternal, I should say now, or temporal, or mind, is only holding now. Like it's only holding 1/3 of what eternal is holding, because eternal is holding the past, now, and the future. Past, now, and future is more substantial. It has more dimension than just now, right? Has more dimension and it has more substance. The heart has more substance. Like heart thinking holds more substance than just mind thinking. Now, if you heart thinking right, then your mind is thinking right, right? Because your mind came from your heart. Your brain came from your heart. I'll say that. Your mind is more connected to your brain, even though brain and mind is different from each other. So another way you can look at it dimensionally speaking to show it has more dimension is that, all right, we live in a third dimensional reality, meaning height, width, and length, right? It's the physical dimension. And your mind deals with more so dealing with just the physical, handling things in a temporal, physical nature. You know what I mean? Whereas the fourth dimension actually is the concept of yourself conceived within the past, now, and the future. I hope I ain't losing nobody. The fourth dimension basically is like duration. Past. Some people would say time. I think time is an illusion. I like to stick to the form of things. So the form of this is previous, now, and what's going to happen. You know what I mean? Stick closer to the form. Keep it basic. You know what I mean? So that's 3 dimensions. That's 4 dimensions. The third dimension is just dealing with the physical. The fourth dimension can deal with the height, width, and length in the past, in the now, and in the future. It's just way more dimension and substance when you deal with heart thinking, which is closer to the eternal, the source, right? So again, the reason I'm bringing this up is not to just try to act like I'm Mr. Know-It-All, just to put it out there. We are all, as a society, becoming more enlightened. And I just want to put some extra energy out there to help the evolution of it. And right now, we kind of even though a great deal of people are aware, the dominant factor is still kind of 3D thinking, 3-dimensional physical thinking. And in order for us to evolve, we have to grow and learn how to think with our hearts and understand. This society tends to think, put the mind first, and tells you to put your heart, which is an emotion center, right? Which is emotion is energy in motion, which is energy, which is the basic, right? So the heart deals with the most rudiment, but it deals with it in its proper nature, right? And the mind kind of deals with your situation going on. The mind I would say the major difference how it plays out, the mind can get caught up in your ego. You deal with your heart, you have a less chance of getting caught up in your ego. You know what I mean? Because your ego can have you being haughty. Your ego can have you being scared. Your ego just worrying about poor little, and you're worrying about myself, eat me, which is like this much of a fraction of all. Your heart is more connected to the all and all times. And I guess the best way I want to just put like a factor out there, which is kind of like the opposite, right? The opposite, so I can make it clear what I'm saying, right? If I was to say society has less heart than it did 100 years ago, as far as people dealing on a day-to-day basis, maybe even 50 years ago, to make it clear, people stood up for their rights more, like the 60s civil rights movement. People had heart then. There's not much civil rights movement, except for the Occupy movement. You know what I mean? Still, there was a lot more people that could have been involved with that. But nowadays, what's dominating our society is less heart. That's why there was a need for the Occupy. And that's why there was a need for the 60s human rights situation as well. There was a need for it because we were feeling boxed in. It's like our heart knows it's first, you know what I mean? And we are forcing our mind to be first, which is against the nature of it. And our body, no matter what our mind tells us, the way we are created and the way we function properly knows that something is working improperly and against the nature. So even intuitively, we're knowing that there's more. And when we know there's more, we really can't get to it because of the way structures are set up in our minds and in society. Then we start to feel boxed in, right? And when I say boxed in, it's meaning like I can't get past here. You know there's more potential out there. That potential is found when we start thinking with our hearts. More like in conjunction with our mind, knowing that heart is the higher priority. That's all I got to say on the situation. Just think about that. Holla at your boy. Peace.
By my own thing, said don't front, you know me. When I'm in the house, I'm definitely chillin' where the glow be. Stepping majestic in the poses of a trophy. Always going to Kente, cause I'll never be the Toby. Yo, so don't front, you know me. Whether at the Ritz or at the soup kitchen, easy gon' eat. 10 speed, a stretch, the limousine. I'm getting proper, getting where I'm supposed to be. So yo, don't front, you know me. When I'm passing by, the suckers grab their girly closely. Over most they head because my poems go deep, but then they know they self haven't seen you through the gold sleeves. So yo, don't